This is Mick and the Phatman, and we're talking life and music from the 60s through to the noughties. G'day everybody, welcome to episode number 2 of Mick and the Phatman Talking Music. We're coming to you live from the Roselands Raindrop Fountain in Sydney, Australia. I'm the Phatman, and with me is Mick. G'day Mick, how you going?
I'm just going great, mate.
Excellent news. Tell me Mick, what have you been listening to this last week?
Well, I've been listening to something which is fairly often on the top of my playlist as I'm driving around, and that's Copper Blue, the album by Sugar from 1991. I think it was a moderate success at the time. Bob Mould, who was the centre guy in Sugar, he was one of the founder members of a band called Husker from the 80s in the US, up in the northern Midwest. And Husker were a leader in the style of music that short, fast, loud, 15 songs in 30 minutes type of thing that was copied by some Australian bands. Frenzal, Rhomb, for instance, later on.
Yep. Okay, there you go.
And Sugar, it's a great album. I just absolutely love it, and I've loved it ever since I first got it. Much more melodic outfit than Husker but there's still very much guitar-driven rock music. And in Australia, guitar-driven rock is always
nothing wrong with guitar-driven rock music. I went back a little bit and been listening to that great song "Africa" by Toto. And
lyrically unbeatable.
And I just think that if you can put together a song where you can get the Serengeti into it and Kilimanjaro, you've reached the height of lyrical success, I believe. And I think that the dogs. I've just got to read this to you. I can't sing it, but I will read it to you. The wild dogs cry out in the night as they go restless, longing for some solitary company. I know that I must do what is right, sure as Kilimanjaro rises like Olympus above the Serengeti. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's bringing tears to my eyes. Tears in memory, actually, but that's
some
Toto.
Some say that rhyme is strained, but I can't see it.
Yeah, no. I mean, Toto, you can't go past 30 years, 3 great songs. With apologies to Jay and the Doctor there.
No, and it was So and it still plays. I mentioned this song to a couple of people on the weekend, and they say, "Oh, I love that song." Those lyrics are just hilarious, and it really. I think there's sort of this love of the song because it's got a bit of it bounces along at a pace and all that sort of stuff. But everybody knows that those lyrics are a little bit interesting. Anyway. I thought, what sort of musical gems, Mick, are you going to bring out of the Globite school bag for us today, mate?
Well, hang on, I'll just open my Globite school bag here.
Click,
look.
Click.
Click, click. Yeah, click, click. Look, I found Queen in there.
Look at them dancing around in there in the bottom of that case.
They're fantastic. And as is the case when we're talking about a lot of bands, we're going to talk about their early years.
Yes.
Now, Queen is a band from the early 70s. And as are a lot of the bands that we're going to talk about over the coming months and years. But in particular, I want to talk about Queen's third album, Sheer Heart Attack.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the next one straight after that is Night at the Opera, which had the unsurpassed Bohemian Rhapsody. And
I don't think I've heard of it. Is it just a good song, is it?
It's not bad, yeah. It's a little ditty. Yeah,
okay.
Hummable.
Mm-hmm.
And we just happened to see them in concert at the wonderful Horton Pavilion, or the Pavlova as it was known, in April 1976.
Yes.
And I think we get a bit of mileage out of talking about Queen around that time.
The Horton Pavilion, what a marvelous venue that was. Built for from my memory, it was built to sell show bags at the Easter show. It was actually built for extra space at the Easter show. And so obviously if you can sell show bags there, you would logically run big concerts in there.
It came into its own with wrestling, World Championship Wrestling.
World Championship Wrestling.
Because the sound quality required for wrestling is comparable to what you need for world-class bands.
Pardon me. And if I remember correctly, that was an amazing concert. But April 1976, and if we go back to some of the best albums of 1976, number one in 96 was there for 16 weeks, was the best of ABBA. Not the worst, only the best.
Yeah, only the best, absolutely.
And on number three was the album called ABBA. And then number four, Night at the Opera. But that's interesting because that's not when the album came out. So, in fact, the album came out in when the Night of the Opera came out. It didn't come out in 76. It came
75.
Out in 75. Yep. So it actually spent quite a few weeks in the top as number one album. But when they came and did the tour, it went back into the top albums again in 76. And I think as we were talking last time about Hot August Night, Neil Diamond had an album in there for 4 weeks, which was Beautiful Noise.
I don't recall a better album.
No.
In the history of recorded music.
Not more beautiful anyway. And also in there was another ABBA album. I don't know why they bothered having a best-of album, obviously because they could, but they had another album called Arrival by ABBA. So, yeah, they had and then, of course, here's one that brings back a memory. How's That by Sherbet. That spent 2 weeks in the top 40 albums.
Gotta tell you, Sherbet get a lot of a hiding, and I think much of it is because they all dressed up in satin gear and appeared on Countdown, and all the little girls loved them. But they were a very competent band.
They were
really great. So I remember seeing them once, believe it or not, at the talking about great venues, Hurstville Civic Centre.
Oh, now we've had a few school gigs there and things like that, haven't we?
Exactly, we have indeed. Now this particular bill, this is a bill to die for when you think about it. Sherbet supporting Bo Diddley.
Oh.
And it was Cold Chisel's first show in Sydney.
Is that right?
Yeah. Jimmy Barnes had long hair.
Did he?
Yeah.
Didn't I know he ever did have long hair?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
When would that have been, you reckon? A long time ago.
About 1975, maybe. A long time ago, and it was a great show.
A long time ago when the earth was green. Changes was on there. Changes by Bowie was on the top albums. And here's one that we got a bit of airplay at various parties and things like Frampton Comes Alive.
Oh, do you feel like we do?
Do you indeed?
Yes.
The use of the voice box, which I never quite knew exactly how that whole thing worked, but basically you had a tube go in your mouth and you play the notes and it would sort of somehow synthesise the note and the voice together, and you could make your guitar sound like it's talking to you. Do you feel like we do? Whatever, something along those lines.
And you'll recall that when we saw Jeff Beck live, he actually used the voice box for one particular thing, and that was to take the piss out of Peter Frampton by going, "Do you feel all right? Do you feel all right?" and then promptly threw it away.
Do you feel all right? And also on that top list is Alice Cooper Goes to Hell.
Should have stayed there.
Oh, here's an oldie, but a goodie. Take It Greasy by Old 55.
Oh, no, Frankie J.
Frankie J, yeah, so there's a couple of great albums up there. But, I have to tell you the second one because I know you're going to be excited by this, was A Night on the Town by Rod Stewart.
I just got a book, actually, and it's really interesting, called Overpaid, Oversexed and Over There. And one of the references that it talks about is exactly that, that series of albums, The Night on the Town, Atlantic Crossing, how it transformed Rod Stewart from one of the boys who used to wear his funny little hat and get on the piss in London and Glasgow and enjoyed a good fight, to Mr. Transatlantic multi-billionaire.
Cool dude. Women lover of women who love him. I think it was the other way around.
Lover of women and lover of Brit Eklund.
Yeah, like a bastard.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So we'll put a reference to this book in on our website so that you can go and have a look at it. And it actually talks how, believe it or not, Rod marrying Brit Eklund actually did his music's fortunes a world of good. It actually positioned him as this guy who's such a great rock star that he can marry international models and film stars. Forget the quality of the music.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting. All right, so let's move on. Do you want to talk about the concert first, or do you want to go through the albums? I'm thinking we might just use the concert as a way to go back and to look at some of the songs. Do you think?
I think so. I think we can do that, and I think we bounce around a bit because as we've been talking about these two albums in this concert, they're very much intertwined because we were listening to both of them at the same time, Sheer Heart Attack and Night at the Opera.
Mm.
And the concert, and I've got another one as well. You might recall, probably these days when everything's on YouTube or Google anyway, that it's not such an issue today. But in the old days,
back in the days when men were men and boys were boys.
That's right. And there used to be things called bootlegs.
Oh yes, there was.
There were indeed, and they were records, and some shops, notorious shops, of course, had rack upon rack of bootlegs, and every artist you can possibly think of. So notorious people had copied live shows, taken a mix straight from the mixing board, however they got hold of it, and these bootlegs would sell because they were live concerts. They were versions of songs that people, the bands, didn't authorise. And in some cases didn't know were out there. So naturally enough, they weren't very happy about it for issues of quality and issues of they got no revenue out of it.
Yeah, copyright and all the rest of it.
So I used to have a bootleg called Sheet Keekers.
Oh, right.
Yes, which was a recording of the tour before the Night at the Opera tour. It was the tour for Sheer Heart Attack.
Oh, is that right?
Ah. And many of the songs, as we know, were the same from that tour through to the tour of Night at the Opera.
And there's also that, pardon me, the I don't know whether it's right or not. I didn't really look that hard, but Queen came to the outdoor concert in Victoria was
Sunbury,
and were booed off stage. Yeah. I wonder if that's true or not.
I think it is. I'm hearing it from a number of different sources. But talk about a mismatch of the audience. A bunch of yobbos sitting in the sun all day drinking beer for Queen. A theatrical, thumping, live, wonderful live show. Probably not the right place for them.
No. But I mean, they could have rocked it out pretty well without having some of the. I mean, they can rock it out as we saw. They know how to do a rock song. And they know how to put on a performance. And if you think to the Live Aid thing, they didn't really have a lot of theatrics in the Live Aid concert that they did, but they brought the house down and were probably one of the best acts because I was listening to Bob Geldof just recently, and he was talking about how Queen, in fact, probably were the best act at Live Aid because they embraced the format of what they had to do. So the format was that you had 10 minutes or something like that. I think that's all you had. And what they decided to do was to do a brief, like a montage of their songs. So they actually never played one full song. They just played snippets of all their great songs. And he said that was the thing that actually turned, that really made the concert. The Queen were probably the highlight artists as far as being able to embrace the format. But interestingly, it was Bowie that turned that made the money come in, believe it or not, because he actually showed a video of the starving kids in Africa that Bob was unsure whether he should show it or not because it was so graphic. So Bowie said, no, I'm going to show it. Has to be shown because people have to understand, and that's what made the phone start to ring, unlike the Queen movie would tell you.
And I'd suggest that they probably learned a lot from the appearance at Sunbury. And
don't go back to Sunbury.
Australia was a very different world then, and these days, for someone to be gay, oh yeah, all right,
yeah.
What else you got?
Yeah.
But back then, that was something that was really quite strange, and I can remember that it was very homophobic. The name of Queen and Freddie was nothing if not flamboyant, and even things like you mentioned Bowie. Bowie got a lot of press around that regard in Australia and overseas about being he announced he was bisexual, probably as a masterstroke of PR to get coverage in every newspaper and TV in the world. But Australia didn't take as well to Queen as they should have, and as they did several years later.
Yeah, and certainly that concert that we saw was sold out. There were two concerts at the Hordern, basically night after, just following nights, and the playlist is the same. And they basically took this playlist around the country and around the world. Pretty much, there was a few changes here and there, but essentially this is the playlist they took around the world for this concert tour. Yep. And I still remember, and as I'm sure you do, the start of the concert. According to the set list, Procession was there at the start, but I don't think there was any band members visible when that was playing. And then all that happened was there was just a light came on from behind the stage with Freddie Mercury in silhouette, standing there with his hands on his hips, and it just starts off with "I see a little silhouette of a man," and that was the start of the concert. And it was, and I think I nearly wet my pants watching that. It was just amazing.
It was really extraordinary, wasn't it? Yeah.
And you think about it, because once again, as we were talking about in our first episode, about how Revolver was really, the start of being able to, of the Beatles really getting into electronic music. Still, live concerts in that early 70s still didn't have all the trappings of the ability to produce a lot of the fancy stuff on stage like they can nowadays. So that they had the whole Scaramouche thing wasn't real. It had to be a recording as opposed to anything done live because of the overdubs that they've done.
Yep. Yeah. Look, Queen were very much leaders in a number of areas in theatrics, and as I mentioned, Freddie was very, very happy to be quite theatrical. From his haircut and that mustache through to the pair of tight gym shorts that he frequently wore on stage.
Oh, yes, they were lovely, weren't they?
Yes, very, very much so. But their film clip for Bohemian Rhapsody, which they then replicated on stage. So you're talking about the light puppet thing, that the silhouette thing that Freddie did. That was an attempt to use physical means, not computerized, which you might do today, but physical means to replicate what was in the film clip. And you recall that straight after that bit, all the lights came on, the smoke was bounding was leaking all over the stage, and they'd been doing that while you had the little silhouette, and the band started the last part of the film clip. The "So You Think You Can Stone Me" and blah blah, and it was the light, the checkerboard lights on the floor. It was everything. And it was basically awesome.
Basically, as you remember the film clip, that's what I remember. The film clip, and you had the same. The 9 Vox amps that for the guitar, and it was just awesome. You look at, and my mouth dropped. I remember sitting there, my mouth dropped. I couldn't really talk, and I was just in absolute awe of watching this thing and thinking, this is the most amazing thing I've ever watched, and it was also the loudest thing I'd ever watched.
It probably was the most amazing thing we'd seen in Australia up until that point, and I think I'd have to agree with you to the volume. It took a lot of years, in fact, until I saw Nirvana to see a louder concert.
Oh, okay. In fact, my ears were ringing for 2 days after it, and they were young ears. You know, they weren't old ears.
Exactly. I mean, these days you just turn up your hearing aid and all is well.
But that does damage to your ears. Like it lays down all the villi. So anyway, it doesn't do it. That's what's happening. The villi get pushed over, and the ringing is actually them irritating your oral canal. But
sorry, what was that?
I'm just going to move on. I'm going to move on because it's a little bit of bullshit. Yep. But anyway, so obviously we kicked off with Procession, kicked off straight into Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep.
But then we have a lot of Queen 2, a lot of Sheer Heart Attack, and a bit of Queen 1 songs in that concert.
Yeah. Let's make sure we come back to Sheer, not right now, but we'll come back to Sheer Heart Attack, because as an album, I don't think they surpassed that through their career. But let's move on right now.
I think Brighton Rock is still one of their strongest songs that they have.
Absolutely.
It's an amazing song, and kicks off Sheer Heart Attack. It's just an amazing song. So
Live. Prophet Song. Prophet Song is another example of how today they'd use computerised technology to do whatever it is they wanted to do. But Prophet Song used a lot of technology in the studio with Freddie singing against himself and a lot of echo and what have you. But on stage, all they had to do, they used tapes and delays. So Freddie would sing something, and that would then be replayed 3 or 4 times, and he'd sing it again against himself. So he was doing a round against himself while Prophet Song was during the song Prophet Song.
And it's funny nowadays you see buskers doing that in the street. They're just there. They go, and you can watch them. They just lay down a whole bunch of tracks and then just play over it and sing over it. It's a busker does that with a box sort of I don't know. I was going to say 6 inches by 6 inches, but I probably should be saying 15 centimetres by 20 centimetres or something like that.
Something of that nature, yes.
But yeah, but they were doing that in. They probably had a machine, about 2 metres by 2 metres to do some of that stuff back in those days.
Yep. Queen, that whole concert, they were absolutely consummate professionals. So and they controlled the environment, the concert environment. They were rehearsed within an inch of their life. And I don't mean we've seen some bands have been so rehearsed that they've been stilted. They've been mummified, and their song might as well just played the record and gone to the pub.
Yeah.
But they were professional. Split second, the live show was just absolutely awesome. We hadn't seen lights and theatrics and even costuming like that before ever. No. Very innovative.
Yeah. And it was, to be honest, if you think back now, it was almost too big a concert to be on at the Hordern Pavilion because it was such a big show. It really needed to be at a bigger place, but
we had nothing else.
No, and if you remember, I still remember the size of the PA there. It was just massive. To this day, I'd never seen anything bigger. I hadn't seen anything bigger at the Hordern Pavilion. Or after, it was still the biggest PA I'd ever seen at the Hordern Pavilion. And then, the PAs got smaller as the time went on, but it was an amazing piece of technology that was sitting there. What about what else about Sheer Heart Attack that really that you find innovative and interesting?
Well, there's much about Sheer Heart Attack, and look, one of the most important things that I find about Sheer Heart Attack is the blast of sound that was there. This is a rock band. This is include the theatrics, and that's all dressing. But at the heart of them, they were a rock band, and even the reviews for Sheer Heart Attack, there's a music magazine, Q, which is still running, described it as thrash metal.
Oh, is that right?
A decade before that term was invented. And it really is. It's solid rock all the way through. Bits of pretty voices, and Roger Taylor's voice was well showcased in it. But the rock and roll component of it was just a sheer onslaught for the ears. Do you remember? We used to sell programs at the football.
I do remember.
And we'd be standing there at the gateway to the football ground, and it's a pretty long day, from 10 o'clock until 3 o'clock. So we'd be blasting Queen out of our cassette players. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Out of our cassette players all day, and that was really something that was quite special.
Yeah, nobody ever stood around and listened to them with us, thank God.
Well, thank you, indeed. Yeah.
Interesting when you talk about Q. There was a guy by the name of Paul Rees of Q. He was saying that not after Sheer Heart Attack, but after Night at the Opera, he reckoned that later albums would expose the lack of soul at the heart of Queen's music. They were all surface and no feeling. Cruel.
That's pretty harsh, but certainly you could go the other way and say that their earlier stuff was really a band trying to make a point. You're talking about rock and roll and Queen being a theatrical band. Really, Metallica, you won't get a bigger metal band ever in the world. But when Metallica covers Queen, you know that you've really done something right. And Metallica covered Stone Cold Crazy from Sheer Heart Attack on an album called Garage Rock. And I was talking to the guy who runs my gym, and he's a bit of a heavy metal head. And I said, look, I'm just doing our podcast and just found that Queen covered, Metallica covered Queen. He says, really? and I thought I knew everything about Metallica, but it was on the back of Enter Sandman, which was a huge hit.
Okay.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah, it is, and it just illustrates, the approach that they had, that solid. Because Freddie Mercury himself said, basically, we are a performing rock and roll band.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting point, because some of the later albums, I never got into the albums, but they produced songs that were rock anthems in the live setting.
Yeah,
and that was the and some even if the songs weren't particularly great songs, they were anthems that really got an audience going. So it was horses for courses, isn't it?
On stage is where we shine, as Freddie said.
It's interesting. Have you watched the Queen movie?
I tried. I wasn't interested in it very much.
But I think the thing about how the song wouldn't Night of the Opera, Bohemian Rhapsody, I should say, wouldn't become a hit because it was too long. I thought that was interesting because I was looking around, and Kenny Everett was a good mate of Freddie Mercury, and he was a DJ at the time, and he played the track. I'm just trying to remember now how many times, something like 35 times on the one day, over and over again on his show, or in the week. Anyway, he aired the song. Sorry, here we are. He aired the song 36 times in a single day on the radio show, and the switchboard was overwhelmed with callers saying when would the song be released. So it was probably not a normal song to be released as a single, but it was, and I think the rest is history, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Other things live. You'll recall that at the end of the night at the opera concert, in one of the I think they did 3 encores,
yep.
And the last one, Freddie comes out dressed up in a green feather boa and singing "Hey Big Spender," which I think that sort of marked that marked the highlight of camp musicology. But it wasn't the first time he'd done that. I mentioned sheet kickers, lots of E's, no I's, which was the bootleg recording of the tour before, and they started with a song called "Son and Daughter" from Queen 2. 8 bars in, Freddie stops and says, "What do you think of the show so far?"
Is that right?
Yeah. And the crowd just goes wild, and the rest of the record is just this awesome, loud rock record, just quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I was just looking at the set list. They finished off the last 3 songs was "Keep Yourself Alive" from Queen,
yep,
the first album, "Liar" from the first album, and finishing with "In the Lap of the Gods,"
yep.
"Lap of the Gods," "Sheer Heart Attack," which was awesome. And then back into, in the encore, "Now I'm Here," "Big Spender," and then "Jailhouse Rock."
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I'd forgotten that, I must admit.
It was high camp in the best possible meaning of the word. Yeah, nothing to do with gay, just that English theatrical music hall style.
Oh, it was amazing, wasn't it?
And then they finished it. You said they started with Procession. They finished the concert, and we forget all of that because when the band was gone off the stage, Brian May had already recorded "God Save the Queen" on his guitar. And so they played "God Save the Queen" to indicate that the concert was over, and it was Brian playing "God Save the Queen." And he said later, I read an interview with him, that it was supposed to be in the same vein and a tribute to Hendrix, who played "Star Spangled Banner" at Woodstock.
Ah, makes sense.
So it all links together, doesn't it?
Ah, that's interesting. Yes, I wonder why he did that, but it makes sense now, doesn't it? Yeah. I wonder if the Queen liked it.
Oh, I'm sure she would. A band named after her.
Yeah, she would.
I mean, that was what the band was named after, wasn't it? You know, the royal family.
Or was it just named after Elizabeth, or was it named after?
Well, there was only one queen in England.
I know, but it could have been. I don't know. It could have been Queen Victoria. She was a bit of a rager.
Got around a bit.
Busy girl. Liked to tucker.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, all right. I don't think I've ever listened to the original Queen album from start to finish.
It's great. Really, really good. It is very much a first album.
Mm.
You know how some first albums come out and you listen to it and you think, wow, where have these people been? And then they do nothing else. So Queen is the other way around. Good album, nice solid starting album. But when you listen to Queen 2 and Sheer Heart Attack and then Night at the Opera, you can see a visible and wonderful progression in their skills, their abilities, their confidence in the studio, and the power of their music.
Yeah. All right, well, I think we might call it quits there. So thanks for all that, Mick. We'll say thank you, and don't forget you can find us on the on our website, which will be in the show notes, and also our Facebook page, where we'll keep you up to date with what's coming up, and we'll also put together playlists, recommended playlists for you to have a look at and see what you think of some of those. So thanks very much, everybody, and see you next time.